Ever had that feeling that someone close to you might not have your best interests at heart? In old age, the people around you matter more than ever. But how do you spot the signs of someone who might be hiding a dark side? In this video, we'll explore 5 shocking red flags that could reveal someone near you is secretly toxic or even evil. These warning signs are often subtle, but recognizing them can make all the difference when it comes to protecting your peace of mind and well-being. From manipulation of your vulnerabilities to gaslighting and isolation tactics, you'll learn the crucial behaviors to watch out for. So, stay tuned to uncover the red flags that could change the way you view those closest to you. Red flag number 1. Manipulation of your vulnerabilities. One of the most insidious red flags to watch out for in old age is when someone close to you begins to take advantage of your physical or emotional vulnerabilities. Whether it's due to health issues, a fear of aging, or simply the challenges that come with getting older, these vulnerabilities can make you feel more dependent on others. But that's exactly what makes it so dangerous when someone uses those struggles against you. A person who manipulates your fears, health concerns, or insecurities to control your actions and decisions is someone who is hiding a dark side, one that could have a lasting impact on your well-being. Let me tell you a story about Margaret, a kind, sharp-minded woman in her 70s. As Margaret got older, she began experiencing more health problems, joint pain, fatigue, and sometimes even memory lapses. Margaret's daughter, Clara, had always been a loving, supportive presence in her life. But recently, Margaret started noticing something troubling. Clara began making subtle comments about how Margaret couldn't handle certain things on her own anymore, simple tasks like cooking or running errands. At first, Margaret thought it was just her daughter's way of showing concern, but over time, she realized that these concerns were becoming more frequent and more controlling. Clara began offering to handle all the finances, manage Margaret's medical appointments, and even decide what she should eat. When Margaret tried to stand her ground or express her opinions, Clara would gently remind her how forgetful she was or how much trouble she was having with her health. It didn't take long for Margaret to feel like she couldn't make decisions on her own anymore. And the worst part? Clara's actions were always framed as care, as if she were doing it for Margaret's own good. This is the heart of the manipulation, masking controlling behavior as concern. The red flag here is the way someone uses your vulnerabilities to make you feel incapable, powerless, and dependent on them. At first, it might seem like they're just helping, but over time, you might begin to notice that they're always the one making decisions, and you're left wondering if you can trust your own judgment. This kind of manipulation can be subtle, so it's important to recognize the signs early. The takeaway here is simple. Don't let anyone twist your vulnerabilities into a tool for control. Real care is about helping you stay empowered, not stripping you of your independence. If you start feeling like you can't make simple decisions without someone constantly questioning your choices, that's a major red flag. It's crucial to pay attention to how these behaviors make you feel, because true support respects your autonomy even when you're struggling. Red flag number 2, lack of empathy and exploitative behavior. One of the most alarming red flags in relationships as we age is a complete lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share another person's feelings. In old age, we may find ourselves more vulnerable, whether it's dealing with the loss of friends or family, health struggles, or simply facing the realities of aging. It's during these times that empathy from those closest to us becomes even more important. However, There are people who seem completely indifferent to your emotions, suffering, or needs. Instead of offering comfort, support, or understanding, they exploit your trust or dependency for their own gain. This type of behavior can be emotionally draining and incredibly damaging, especially when it comes from someone you once trusted. Take the story of Harold, an elderly man who had recently lost his wife. He was struggling with grief, loneliness, and the adjustment to life without her. One evening, feeling especially low, Harold confided in his niece Lisa about how deeply he missed his wife and how difficult it was to keep up with his daily routine. He spoke about feeling isolated and how he wished he could get out more, but simply didn't have the energy or support. Instead of offering comforting words or suggesting ways to help him, Lisa reacted coldly. She dismissed his feelings, saying, "Well, everyone loses someone eventually," and quickly changed the subject to discuss her own life and what she was busy with. Harold felt ignored, even ashamed for expressing his emotions. It was as though his pain didn't matter to Lisa, and her lack of empathy left him feeling more isolated than ever. This is a classic example of exploitative behavior. Instead of offering support, someone uses your emotional vulnerability as an opportunity to push their own agenda or simply ignores your needs altogether. The absence of empathy is a huge warning sign, especially when it comes from someone who should be offering compassion and care. The truth is, relationships, whether with family, friends, or caregivers, should involve mutual understanding and a willingness to help when someone is in need. If someone in your life is repeatedly cold or dismissive of your emotions, using your pain to further their own interests, that is a serious red flag. The takeaway here is clear. A lack of empathy is never something to ignore. While it's normal for people to have their own lives and challenges, it's crucial to notice when someone's behavior shows no regard for your emotional needs, especially when you're in a vulnerable state. Empathy is what builds trust, and without it, you're left exposed to potential exploitation. Always trust your instincts and seek out relationships that provide genuine care and understanding. Red flag number 3. Isolation and keeping you away from supportive people. Isolation is one of the most manipulative and dangerous tactics used by toxic individuals, especially when they want to control you. This red flag involves someone subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, trying to distance you from your friends, family, or broader community. The goal is to make you more dependent on them, leaving you with fewer people to turn to for support or perspective. It might start small with seemingly innocent suggestions, but over time you might find yourself cut off from those who could help you see the truth of the situation. When someone starts to control your social interactions, it's not just about limiting your fun. It's about creating an environment where they become your only source of emotional or physical support, giving them even more power over you. Let me share the story of Evelyn, a vibrant woman in her 80s who had always been active in her church and loved spending time with her close friends. Her nephew, Mark, who had recently moved in to help care for her, started offering help by suggesting she take it easy on her social activities. At first, it seemed reasonable. Evelyn was getting older, and she had been feeling a little more tired than usual. But over time, Mark's suggestions turned into frequent complaints about how much effort it took to get her out of the house, or how much he worried about her being too tired after church meetings. When Evelyn tried to arrange outings with her friends or attend community events, Mark would come up with reasons to stop her, claiming she needed to rest, or that they were just too much for her at her age. One day, Evelyn overheard Mark on the phone with her best friend, subtly convincing her to stop inviting Evelyn to social gatherings, claiming she wasn't up for it anymore. Evelyn began to realize that Mark wasn't just worried about her health. he was actively keeping her away from the people who cared about her. This is a classic case of isolation. Mark wasn't directly telling Evelyn to stay home or stop seeing her friends, but his actions spoke louder than words. He was slowly cutting her off from the very people who could have supported her, making Evelyn more dependent on him and more isolated in her own home. By controlling her social interactions, he was ensuring that she had fewer people to question his behavior or to offer her alternative perspectives. This isolation makes it easier for toxic individuals to manipulate their victims and more difficult for them to see what's really happening. The takeaway here is crucial. Isolation is a red flag that cannot be ignored. Toxic people often use it as a tool for control, and it's one of the most dangerous tactics they employ. If someone in your life is discouraging you from spending time with others, or subtly keeping you away from your social circle, you need to pay attention. Healthy relationships should encourage you to engage with others, not pull you away from them. When you start noticing this behavior, it's time to reassess who really has your best interests at heart. Protect your connections with people who care, and don't allow anyone to isolate you for their own benefit. Red flag number 4, constant gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the most destructive forms of manipulation, and it's particularly harmful for older adults. This tactic involves someone making you doubt your own memory, perception, or even reality. When someone gaslights you, they twist the truth, deny facts, or make you second-guess your own experiences, leading you to feel confused and unsure of yourself. For older adults who might already be struggling with insecurities related to aging, health, or memory, gaslighting can make these fears even worse. The person doing the gaslighting aims to make you feel like you're losing control or even losing your mind, making it harder to trust your own judgment and ultimately making you more dependent on them. Take the story of Betty, a sharp and independent woman in her 80s who had always kept a careful record of her finances. Betty's son, Ted, who had recently moved in to help her manage things, started making small comments about her memory. One day, Betty mentioned to Ted that she had just paid a bill, but he insisted she hadn't, claiming she was mistaken. She was certain she had made the payment, but Ted continued to downplay her memory, suggesting she might be getting forgetful in her old age. Over the next few weeks, this pattern continued. Betty would mention something she was sure about, like where she had placed an important document or a conversation she had had with a neighbor, and Ted would brush it off as if it never happened. At one point, Betty started to question whether she had paid the bill or misremembered the conversation. The constant undermining of her reality made her feel unsure about her own perceptions. This is a textbook example of gaslighting. Ted wasn't just dismissing Betty's memories, he was deliberately twisting the truth and making her doubt herself. Over time, Betty began to feel like she couldn't trust her own thoughts, which is exactly what gaslighting aims to do. The more someone makes you doubt your own reality, the more control they have over you. In Betty's case, Ted's constant manipulation caused her to second-guess everything, even when she knew something was true. This confusion and self-doubt are incredibly dangerous because they erode your confidence, making it harder to trust anyone or even your own instincts. The takeaway here is that constant gaslighting is a serious red flag that should never be ignored. It creates confusion, self-doubt, and a sense of losing control over your own life. If someone in your life is constantly making you question your memories or your perceptions, it's a tactic designed to undermine your confidence and make you more dependent on them. Protect your sense of reality and don't allow anyone to make you feel like you're losing touch with it. Trust your instincts, and if you feel like you're being gaslit, seek support from someone you trust to help you see things clearly again. Red flag number 5. Indifference to your well-being or needs. One of the most telling red flags of a truly toxic or even evil person is their indifference to your well-being or needs. A person who is genuinely caring will be concerned when you're in discomfort or need help, but someone with darker intentions will show a complete lack of empathy or, worse, will take pleasure in your struggles. This indifference is a clear sign that they don't see you as someone worthy of compassion or respect. They only see you as a means to an end. When someone you trust fails to react to your pain or actively ignores your needs, it's a major red flag that they might not have your best interests at heart. Take the story of Grace, an elderly woman who had recently fallen and injured her leg. She was managing well enough at home, but needed help with basic tasks like getting up from a chair, preparing meals, and running small errands. Her daughter, Linda, was the one who had promised to help her during this recovery period. But over the next few weeks, Grace noticed a troubling pattern. When she asked Linda for assistance, she would either be met with a dismissive shrug or a response like, "You'll be fine," or "I'm too busy." One day, Grace struggled to get up from her chair and called out for help, but Linda didn't even look up from her phone, continuing to scroll without a word. It wasn't that Linda couldn't help, she just didn't care. On another occasion, when Grace mentioned needing help with groceries, Linda offered to take her to the store, but made Grace walk much further than she was able to, leaving her exhausted and in pain just to get it over with. Grace felt both physically and emotionally drained. Realizing that Linda wasn't concerned about her needs, she was just indifferent, or perhaps even pleased to see Grace struggle. This type of behavior, when someone acts as though your needs don't matter or even take satisfaction in your discomfort, is a glaring indication of their true intentions. It's a sign that they don't see you as a person to be cared for, but as someone to be used or controlled. If someone is indifferent to your well-being, that's a major warning sign that they might not have your best interests at heart, and in some cases, they may even be actively taking advantage of your vulnerability. The takeaway here is simple. Indifference to your well-being is a serious red flag. No one should ever be indifferent to your pain, needs, or comfort, especially when you're relying on them for support. This kind of behavior is not just neglect, it's a sign of deeper, more harmful intentions. If someone in your life consistently fails to show care or concern for your needs, it's time to question their true motivations and consider whether they deserve a place in your life. Conclusion. There you have it. 5 red flags that could reveal the true nature of someone close to you. Always remember, your well-being and peace of mind should never be compromised, especially as you age. Trust your instincts and don't ignore these signs, because recognizing them early can make all the difference. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment below and let me know which red flag stood out to you the most. Comment 9 for the most surprising, or 0 if you've experienced any of these behaviors firsthand. Take care and stay aware. Until next time.